Good evening, Music Multiverse listeners. This is Beyond Your Radio, and tonight it's That's Your Band Name, episode 6. To my right, your left is Alex Kalizny. Also on screen, Jeff Young, Jeffrey Johnson. Chef Jeff is quite ill. He's got COVID, the flu, and salmonella. So to have him on screen, while it might be a scene from Alien, might not be the best for audio.
And if he looks deep enough, there might be a fourth condition that he may be entitled to financial compensation for. I don't know. He's just got to look for it himself.
Just find it, right? Yeah. So he declined tonight, and he's saving his picks instead of handing them off to me, which was rather funny the last time we did.
Hey, welcome to What's Your Cygnus Name?
So this show allows any and all panelists and contributors to join us as they just come up with band names that were either outrageous, maybe too simple, not correct, didn't relate to the band. Maybe it didn't make them successful. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it caught our eye in the flipping of CDs like it did for me. Maybe we'll do an episode on that. I think Jeff Young thought something about that today, was telling me that might be a cool concept for one of the shows. Maybe I'll even do it live. We'll go and I'll flip through. So before we get started, remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos. Like and comment. Why? Well, let us know if you knew these bands tonight, or maybe hit us back about listening to them after. Give us 3 for tonight that maybe you had. I promise we'll reply. Got nothing better to do.
That's why I've been in this basement talking to him for the last few hours.
So we'll get this going. Each of us are going to do 3. We have a different setup tonight, so bear with me just a bit. So we'll start with Alex.
So first one I've got, and this has been a product of my listening to City and Color. My theme for first couple is just words smushed together. So I've got Alexisonfire, which took countless years for me trying to figure out how the heck you say the damn name. And then once I finally figured that out, it was all good from there. But derived from Alexisfire, a porn star's website. She threatened to sue, was discovered the moniker was not registered, no further action take place, and the name stood. So aside from the backstory on the name, phenomenal band, lots of talent in lead singer Dallas Green. Definitely one to check out if you haven't heard them before, but I'm pretty sure that one's been beaten like a dead horse on this show by me. So I can highly recommend them, though, to anybody.
I would say it's been beaten by me. They were in the top 10 of last year's for their record. So yeah, they're a great band. How the name, I don't know. When I first heard it, I kind of it's all right.
Wrote it off a little bit at first, but it's ones that stood, especially in Canada. Again, theme of the show often is stuff that's come from over there, but that's one that I still remember going to hockey camps on Wednesday at Niagara University, turning in 97.7 and listening to the Dead Heart coming on, or Young Cardinals. So I know they go back a long way for me. So there's my backstory on them too, no less. But weird name, phenomenal group.
Still today, going on strong. Jeff, you're next with your first.
So, which one do you have down your mark?
I have Pop.
So Pop will eat itself. It's I think the name is originally taken from an English publication that was one of the first publications that actually listed the Billboard, like their top 50. But they wrote articles about all kinds of different stuff. But somebody had made a point of, like, the future of music was that the pop music would eat itself. It would just kind of regurgitate itself, like just kind of be like a cyclical type thing. But the lead singer, Graham Cab, describes their sound as, what did he say here? He said it's electronic punk, alternative hip hop, hybrid music for fucking fighting and smoking cigars.
Yeah, it's certainly those are hard albums to find.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
and they toured with even bands like Run DMC and Public Enemy. But they found like their newest popularity when they signed with Nothing Records with the Trent Reznor label in the US. And then they toured with Nine Inch Nails and they actually had one of the first bands to have their music in a video game on a PlayStation game. And then the biggest one that I remember is their album Ik Ben Mijn Auslander, which kind of was explicit and kind of was a little more political on the political side. And then a different version of that song came out in 1994 for the album Dos Dedos Mis Amigos.
That one I
And,
have, yes.
But that got to like number 11 in the US. And I think here, well, that's really all I really know about them. But they weren't around that long. They disbanded in '96, but they were pretty popular, especially like I remember hearing them all the time on like 102.1 in Toronto when they do like their Saturday nights and when they're doing their live, you know, from different clubs in Toronto. And
The
anyway,
Phoenix.
yeah, like
Hi from the Phoenix.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've never heard of these guys.
Oh, you will. I think you'll enjoy. They definitely throw it around.
it's
You know,
a combination. They
genre.
do a lot of sampling and you know, it's definitely alternative and somewhat industrial.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because I don't think it would be interesting to know somebody who was a fan from the beginning, like how that went down. Because I was never a fan. I didn't know about them until later, right?
Yeah, I like their most popular stuff. I don't like everything they've ever done, you know, but
Yeah, and those records are hard to find. They cost money to find them. At least the one when I was looking, and I got CDs, which I thought was expensive for what I got.
But you perked my interest when you said that was a 102.1, one of those late night weekend type bands that I would not have initially thought that until you
Yeah.
said so.
back when Martin Street was still alive, he was doing that.
Oh, miss that dude. All right, so my first one. So my theme tonight is God dang it, these are really long names. That whether they mean anything or not, I have no idea.
Well, I didn't know my last one was gonna jump into your theme.
You jumped in, right? Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. So this band came out in the late 70s. So they're basically an electronica pop band. They have a feel like a cross between Kraftwerk, Duran Duran, and obviously they go into the 80s. They've got some popular singles, especially that Pretty in Pink, If You Leave, which was not the song they originally wrote for the movie. Apparently, because of the test market at the end of how they were originally going to end the film, it didn't go well. So they changed it, which nixed their song. So they had 24 hours to write a new one because they weren't going to be able to be in the studio anymore because they were going on tour. So instead of that song, which I think was called Goddess of Love, and I think that appeared on one of the studio albums in between there. They have actually sold 15 million albums, 25 million singles, and you can understand where that single is. They actually also did a single for Hugh Jackman's Eddie the Eagle movie. This band gets a lot of coverage in TV and movies. I think that's because of that pop electronic band sound, that Duran Duran-ish thing. That
Interesting.
yeah, they've been around a very long time. I thought it was pretty cool how they like serious stuff in a poppy electronic rhythm and beat, which was uppity. So you're singing something that's kind of downtrodden a bit, but then later on they do get, it's funny because that dark comes in later, but not in the beginning. They're, you know, so my first one, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, 1970s, 80s, 90s. There was a disbanding of the band in like for 10 years. Now they're back a little bit. Now there's even a rumor that there could be a new album coming. Are they my cup of tea? I don't know. If you look back at Pretty in Pink and those kind of movies, they were I don't know if they hold up today.
The dark lyrics to the up-tempo music was actually pretty much a topic while we were talking about pre-show
Mhm.
with a lot of different bands.
Yep.
I know Third Eye Blind obviously had that
Everclear.
with them, Everclear.
Mhm.
So yeah, interesting that another one follows suit on that too.
Yeah. So another note to the 70s. So this is kind of just around that time of Tangerine Dream, and so you're kind of moving into that kind of stuff. Back to you, Alex. Here
So-
comes a long one.
This one, so they shortened their name to I don't know, or IDK How, but we've got I don't know how they found me, but they did. A long name that I figured fits this episode and this show very well, but didn't know that these two were actually members of Panic at the Disco and Falling in Reverse. Something I learned recently when I was trying to figure out a little bit more background on them, especially considering I had always assumed that the sound they produced was a little bit like Muse. And then we were listening to a song earlier, just kind of sampling that, and it sounded like Muse meets Joywave. So this was a fun one that definitely deserves a little bit more of a diving into. I was really surprised that these were both guys that were in popular bands. And so between this and the next one I'll do in this episode, I love bands that have a little bit of a weird backstory or do something that's not conventional. Something I liked about these guys was the secret performing in small venues that they used to do, even when confronted with photos and videos of them doing it, completely denying it, just not to use their notoriety or use any part of them to, do anything more than what they were doing and performing. So not exploiting their past work. And I thought that was pretty cool to do. So something with their moniker that I noticed was that the punctuation of the band name is intentionally incorrect. There's no apostrophe, there's no comma.
Oh, I typed it phonetically.
Actually, the comma that's usually put in there is after the how. So they intentionally do it mostly because punctuation was a big deal for one of the band members when they were in Panic at the Disco, because all the weird names, obviously even in the title, Panic at the Disco having the exclamation point. So having the opposite approach and getting rid of it all. And the band's name being inspired by a quote from Back to the Future. So talk about bands with a fun name. I know these guys have had a couple of singles that have gotten some radio play, but highly recommend to dive into the albums if you get a chance. These guys are pretty damn good too. So I like their range vocally. That was something that we were debating earlier, and I like that he can go from speaking to he can hit some tones in there too and weave it all into one.
The music is definitely the driving force. Or it's the melody. His voice is not melodic. So yeah. All right, Jeff. This one I can't wait to talk about.
The Big Dirty Band.
Tell me.
I don't know how I found out about this band, but this is a one-off band, a Canadian supergroup composed of Rush's Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, Ian Thornley of Thornley and Big Wreck, Adam, I think it's Dontier of 3 Days Grace, the lead singer and former one who created Die Mannequin from Canada, Care Failure, that's her name, and Jeff Burrows, the drummer of Tea Party. I've never heard a single song from these guys. But it's just interesting that so it was in 2006. They were put together specifically to support a movie, The Trailer Park Boys, the movie, which premiered in 2006, and where Mike Smith and Alex Lifeson performed their co-written song "Liquor and Whores" with their backup band Bubbles and the Shit Rockers, which was the band in the movie. The film's soundtrack was released as a compilation CD in 2006, and the Big Dirty Band contributed one song to the soundtrack. Other contributing bands to the soundtrack include Rush, Alexis on Fire, Winter Sleep, Swollen Members, April Wine, Rough Trade, and The Tragically Hip.
What was the name of the movie?
Trailer Park Boys.
Okay, was that Throwing Off Glass from the Tragically Hip for Trailer Park Boys?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Now you have me intrigued.
Yeah, I was really.
This alone for that cast. What a find.
The only thing is you can't hear it. There's not a song. There's not an album. There's nothing.
And you see that lineup and you just go, how the hell is there not?
Trailer Park Boys soundtrack?
2006.
Okay.
Wait,
Where?
go up.
Who's got the
featuring
who's got your belly? Bubbles and the Shit Rockers.
And there's the Liquor and Horse.
Oh, there is the Liquors and Horse. All right. Got a few tracks I can listen to now. God damn.
What a
Okay, Liquors and Whores. Who's got your belly?
the Kitty Man.
The Kitty Man.
That's
it?
This is gonna be good.
Is that it? But
And Alex Lifeson's featured in one of those. Now I just need to watch the movie.
I never watched the movie. Did you watch the movie,
No,
Jeff?
No, but they got a soundtrack, so maybe some of that other music that was in the movie is that other contributing bands, that might be worth listening to. I don't know. I don't know.
see, I'm a big Letterkenny fan.
Okay, so Big Dirty Drums was performed by I Fought the Law, Big Dirty. Oh, so they did I Fought the Law. And the Law won, right? So they do Spirit of Radio. They're all remakes.
And well, Spirit of Radio is performed by Rush in this one.
Which is Rush.
So-
It's a Rush song.
No, but it tells you that they performed I Fought the Law, but then that one was just a normal song.
Right. So that's the number song.
So it's
So
only that.
Orca by Winter Sleep. 38 years old, it's Tragically Hip. Okay, so
Well, but in the movie, it's the original version. not the song,
correct.
yeah.
I'm just saying there's nothing new under the sun here. Because the Hip did two soundtracks. One was Men with Brooms, maybe.
Well, no, but I was trying to see if the band had performed anything else.
No, it
from
doesn't
that.
look like it.
There's a lot of music on this too.
Oh yeah, Northern Pikes, Things I Do for Money. Oh, they just
Scared
Scared
and
is on there
Tragically
too. Yeah. Helix is even on there too.
Oh,
Tony
gosh.
Hatch
Tea Party, Temptation.
and the Hugh Dillon Redemption Choir.
Wow, this was a
Wow.
double album.
I don't know. It seems like, well, they're sort of short songs.
This just went from "What's your band name" to
Monkey
down the
Ball.
rabbit hole.
Oh, come on,
We're
man.
right down the rabbit hole. with
Wow,
this one.
you're killing me. All right, moving on. That's a good pick.
That
Jeff.
is a good
When I
one.
saw it, I had no idea. I was like, what? Because I remember Alex Lifeson and Edwin with their band Victor, right? And they had somebody else was in that band too. I don't remember who, but
Yeah.
but that was the only thing I remembered, like Alex Lifeson ever doing besides what he is now, which is Envy of None. But yeah, okay.
Unreal. Wow.
So my second one is John Cougar Concentration Camp. Holy shit, what a dumb name. All right, first
I
of
wonder
all,
why I've never heard of that.
oh, now, first of all, just to give you a little background, right? So this punk band formed in like the 90s. Like, I can't remember what day in the 90s, but here's your story. I want to say San Diego, right? So they play a club, the Casbah, right? Am I right? Don't take my word for me, it's the Casbah. But the minute somebody hears them, right? It's like, oh my God, these guys are great. They're right. But they should have said, what's the band's name before they already gave him a contract, right? And gave him a sing. They were going to give him, I guess they were going to give him a contract. So the band did their own thing and put out their own 7-inch single, I think, to start. Nobody signed them because their band name is John Cougar Concentration Camp. It's just ridiculous. Why would you do it? By the way, this is not the worst band name ever. One of these days, in one of these episodes, I will speak for one time only. The worst band name ever ever.
I don't know. Chef put a lot up there in the first
It's
episode.
not even debatable. Once you hear that, you're gonna go, ooh. It wouldn't even be. You would leave the place you were at. I obviously, it's not.
There are some really raunchy ones out there.
Raunch is fine. But this is tasteless, right? Tasteless. This is trying to be comical to some degree. So anyway, they did get press in a magazine once as very likable. Paste magazine in 2002, 2010 hailed them inside the top 100 bands of all time, which may lead us to the fact that once they probably made that statement in 2010, everyone dropped the magazine and said, you're full of shit. I will say this, they sound like the Ramones. That's it. They're a punk band. They're a straight punk band. It's the same every time. It's fun. It's good. But why they named themselves Cougar Concentration Camp, I don't know. But they broke up immediately after the first singles drop. They couldn't keep people together. And people started leaving bands to go to the Queens or the Queers or whatever the hell it is.
As soon as you said it was a punk band, now it doesn't surprise me, because if you think about the underground punk scene, it's random. You don't know. People just throw shit together. Hence the name. Hell,
It's
John
like-
spelled with an H.
Okay.
I feel like it's like bands that just want to one up each other with the dumbest name ever. Like,
And honestly, again, that's the punk scene. It would not surprise me if that's what they were trying to do.
So
That one's something.
anyway, there's my. It's a little too long a name too. Anyway,
I'll fit your scene.
yes. Back to you, Alex. We'll clean it up now.
I feel like I'm the PG one this episode too. I don't know why I'm the clean one every single time we do this show.
Alex, lean over to your right a little bit more.
My right?
Yeah, a little bit more, a little bit more. All right, ready?
That's not how I appear on there. We're stacked.
Well, here, should I spread this out? Does it make it, will we be side by side then? No, just wider. Okay.
No, I just see more of John Cooper.
John Cooper. You're never gonna live that down.
No, not one bit. That's the perfect doppelganger for
We
this
should probably
show.
put it down that John Cooper's on the show. Maybe I'll get more than 36 viewers.
I must look a lot different in person. I don't know, man.
If I take where your face is and I put this up to it next to it, it would be dead spot on if I pulled this photo up.
Yeah.
So this
Well,
one,
you just say, well, Kucherov is just being Cooch, and
Cooch being Cooch.
so this one's another fun one. I mentioned how with the last band with I don't know how, but they found me, that the secret show side of things and kind of playing off where they're from and being their own thing. So initially there was a rapper from Britain, the Tottenham area. Long backstory to go with him. He was started as Castro, turned into Cass, then it turned into Casisdead. From what I was able to understand, at least of some of the backstory, it kind of hops around all throughout here. But one of the things that with him, unique to his style is, and I'm looking through my notes here because I just lost all my shit in order of when I had it because of the last band.
Been there, done that.
So with him, best summary of him, what he does is if he sold 1 million records, you'd still have to call him underground because it's different. He's not playing by any rules. Now that was from Global Rockstar Magazine 2016. There's always been questions about his identity due to wearing a mask. This is ironic because a couple of the other photos we tried to find of him, he looks like Lord Voldemort and Harry Potter.
I couldn't download them. They were web access. He actually, he must do some sort of artwork on his face or something like that because it looks like the skin's all sucked in and everything. But it's not. It's all masks and stuff.
But I stumbled upon him, so I watched the HBO show Ballers.
Okay.
And with The Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the songs featured on there, I went, damn, this is good. Immediately hit Shazam, got it up, listened to it. and it's been a favorite of mine ever since. It's been on my pregame playlist actually plenty. And so with him, I was like, all right, I want to kind of hear more of him, get into this a little bit. And I keep finding these weirder and weirder things he does. He wears a mask at all times. He wears the same thing in public appearances. He it is just he hides that persona, and it's almost like method acting, but in music. And that's where I'm kind of intrigued by what he does and where he can seem to be featured here.
I think one of the pictures looks like he is an actual individual without special effects in the Ghost Rider.
And it's weird how his name has evolved throughout all of this,
Mhm.
that he's changed it from Castro to Casisdead, showing some sort of life cycle to his artistry. And a lot of his lyrics have been, from what I was able to hear, very pinpointed to his upbringing, his time where he's been around a narcotic drug type scene in England. And one of the interesting reviews I was able to find on him just from
Tottenham? What's that?
Tottenham, home of one of the famous
Soccer team.
soccer teams as well.
But
And
no songs about soccer?
nope, he is a Newcastle United fan though. I was able to find that out of
Alright.
this. But one of the interesting things I found on him, there was someone who said he's quite possibly one of the best things to ever happen in British rap music. And then an English producer from the Purist stated in the Passion of the Weiss magazine, I don't know what the hell that is.
WEISS?
Yes.
Okay, I know the magazine.
I genuinely rate Cass as the best rapper to ever come out of England ever. I rate him that highly. I can't speak any higher to his talent. To me, he's a
What about the
combination of
streets?
Nas, Big L, Mobb Deep, and Dizzy Rascal. Well, I know who
Okay.
Nas is, but high praise. A lot of
Okay.
high praise for him. This is one that
Is there a song
want to follow on.
title? What do you got? What song title?
Hat Earrings is the big one for me.
Okay.
That's the main single that got me hooked and it made me want
I
to
was
find out
on
more.
my drive to Hershey this week. I had Lauren in the car and I put on the streets. That's a British rapper, but
Okay.
he doesn't, just the swearing is I'm such a twat, that kind of stuff. So the British is high in it. The high British, humor is in there.
I actually like, in listening to him, I like the British accent mixed with rap. It's just,
Yeah, I like it
there's
too.
something that it fits it. It's a
Mhm.
little more mellow in every single one you hear. There's nothing really too high tempo. It'll get fast, but it's that same calm demeanor sound to it. And so it's a fun one that if you want to follow along the adventure and go down the rabbit hole per se, he's a great one to start with. I'm really curious, not only from what I've found so far, but from what anybody else would find. And yeah, it's a fun adventure. And I know you were saying you were interested in going listening to some of the.
Yeah, like I said, my daughter was not happy with the streets. She didn't think it was all that in a bag of chips until it got to the other parts that he started to get the background music got a little bit more US oriented.
Gonna have to get him onto the next soundtrack for Shaun the Sheep or Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I liked it. There's something to, whether it's with the last two bands, the secretiveness, the hiding themselves, or just anything to be different than the very commercial, hey, here's where we're playing, show up, it's a great show. I like the secretive, the private side of things. It's kind of cool.
All right, so we'll go to Jeff.
Name of the band, Monster Magnet, which, by the way, Mark, you and I saw at the Showplace Theater in Buffalo by Buff State.
Yes, ridiculously good show.
The name is taken from a 1960s toy made by Whammo. It was lead singer Dave Windorf's when he was a child, so that's what the band is named after. Early names of Monster Magnet include Dog of Mystery, Airport 75, Triple Bad Acid, and King Fuzz. But in 1995, Dopes to Infinity had the hit single Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and that featured a video on MTV, which is kind of how they got more notoriety and popularity. And then following that with Power Trip in 98, the hit Space Lord, which everyone's heard.
Love that record.
that led them to actually tour with Aerosmith, Metallica, Rob Zombie, and that their music is frequently heard in the TV series Sons of Anarchy. And they've also been in feature films like The Matrix, Bride of Chucky, Urban Legend, Talladega Nights, The Crow Salvation, Dracula 2000. And in fact, Marvel named a character Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yep.
And it was featured in both Deadpool films. So, and they've also been in a couple video games, but kind of cool.
I've probably heard of this band, and I don't know when.
They are basically a stoner rock band.
They kind of call it's like
with
one band they would call like they call it, what was it, like space rock or
Space-
like that.
Space rock.
As soon as you said
Good
that they've
stuff.
been in video games, I'm like, I've probably heard it somewhere. I've definitely had to have heard them from watching Talladega Nights.
Well, there's no question that there's Dopes to Infinity it's a good record. There's actually albums before that, and then albums in the middle, and then that's come out.
I mean, every album has
going,
good songs on every album.
yeah, and but the early stuff is very entrenched in old stoner kind of. They even did a record just recently that they kind of went back to their cover. They covered some really obscure songs that you wouldn't know. And I've always like wondered if someone does these obscure songs, would they think they're theirs, or would they go, oh, that's kind of, and then would that bring people to listen to those music? I listened to the record and I went, it didn't do anything for me. I didn't go back to explore those bands. But when they went back to their old stuff, it was more progressive to me. It was more what they call, it's not space rock. Maybe it's space rock.
Well, it's funny you say too, like I've been a victim plenty of times of cover songs that I thought were originated by someone else.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, going back to one of the earlier episodes of the show with Alien Ant Farm.
Mhm.
I didn't know Smooth Criminal was Michael Jackson. I knew Alien Ant Farm as a kid before I knew anything Michael Jackson,
Right.
which tells you a lot about what I was allowed to listen
Well,
to.
that's kind of why we do the show, right? Because and once I get to doing podcasts, I'm going to be talking more about how I can bring, and our panelists can bring older listeners to newer stuff and newer listeners to older stuff. But anyway, that's a thing for another time. I will say this. You've heard the song, it's Space Lord, Mother,
Yeah.
right? Well, that's not really what the title of that really was, but they had to change it so they could put it on radio.
And as popular as that is, it's probably not even my favorite song of theirs.
Oh, no.
Now that you said that that's the song, now I know.
Now you know. They are a rabbit hole worth going down if you're into fuzz rock, space. It's even got a little bit of doom in it. Metal. It's definitely metal. Definitely metal.
A little bit of bluesy here and there too.
Yeah.
Which being the complete opposite of the entire title of Beyond Your Radio, but I'm a huge listener of 94.9 The Rock in Oshawa and Ontario. For those of you who don't know, I assume that you kind of figured by now the Canadian connection, but yeah, they play that song plenty that you just mentioned. So yeah.
Yeah, I think they got to be up to double-digit albums, I would think, by now.
Probably, yeah.
I have. The only one I don't have is the cover album. It's the only one I don't have. All right, well, I'll finish tonight with Mother Mallard's Portable Masterpiece Company. So how did I know and find this?
Walmart. As soon as you start talking about mallards and portable and masterpiece companies,
somebody leave it on your doorstep like an
on the
abandoned
shelves in the
child?
hunting section.
What'd you say, Jeff?
Did somebody leave it on your doorstep like an abandoned child? Like they knew you would take care of it, left it for you?
Well, okay, so something happened on one of the episodes prior where Jeff was talking about the Moog synthesizer. And I disagreed, but I didn't make it known. So Mother Mallard's Portable Masterpiece Company is a Dave Borden, who's a composer and a minimalist musician. It's a band he put together in 1969 with his association with the man who made the Moog synthesizer. He was a very good friend of his.
That's the company.
There's your company. All right. He's from Ithaca, New York.
No shit.
Yes. David is from Ithaca, New York. He's a fellow upstate New Yorker. He knows our pain. Anyway, so this is an ensemble of synthesizers. There's no drums. There's no guitar. It's just synthesizer
God.
people doing basically, if you think about it, this is probably, this falls into ambient. Considered they started recording in the 1970s, but this album didn't go out in 1973. So why would I do this and bring you this, right? Here's the kick. This company, this Mallard's Portable Masterpiece Company, Mother Mallard's, caught the ear of a certain director named Billy Friedman in the 70s. And Billy said, "Oh my God, you guys have got to do a soundtrack. I got this horror movie I'm making. Come on down." And so they sat with the cast. Ellen Burstyn. Do we know the movie yet? No?
Well, you're asking the wrong person when it comes to movies.
Now I just lost my
You had it.
Linda Blair. The Exorcist.
There's only one movie with Linda Blair.
So they sit down and with the cast and all this craziness that's going on and this budget weird horror movie back in the 70s. It obviously becomes the most, celebrated horror film of all time. They write an enormous amount of tracks. I can't remember how many, but they take 3. So this band is responsible for some of the music in The Exorcist, all from being a bunch of people with a keyboard sitting down and having a band. It is ambient. It's fairly well done. I mean, we're talking 1970. It's really well done. This isn't Brian Eno. This isn't Daniel Lanois sitting down with them. This isn't craft work. This isn't. It's
to work off a modern piece of technology for the 70s. It's damn near futuristic. To be everyone working off synths is,
and it shows you ambient builds eeriness, builds soundscape, the background, and
so we go from Jeff's recommendation, which you may have heard in pop culture and on the radio, and you go to Mark's recommendation, which you probably heard before you took a chainsaw to the neck. Fair enough. I like the leap.
Yeah, as you dig into these things, it's pretty interesting, right? So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the show. I hope you learned a little something about band names and their importance or where they head off to and where they came from. We'll do this again in 2 more weeks. I'll thank my panelists, Jeff Young and Alex, for dropping by, although I had to feed him or he wasn't going to come. We're on the web at www.beyondyourradio.com. We're on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is only doing the articles and the postings for the shows like this. So thank you again and happy listening.